So this video is particularly, I won't say difficult, but I felt indifferent about recording it. Not that I think it would be more difficult for someone else to do this, but just indifferent. So here it goes. I never thought that coming out would be something that I would have to do. For me, I was always myself. I never felt like there was a part of me that wasn't being expressed. I'll say that. Wasn't being expressed externally. There were parts of me internally that weren't being expressed, but that might be another video. But either way, all my life, I've kind of known that I was, and I hate to use this term, but I knew that I was different, you know? I think for me, it was more of a coming to terms. And I think that happened around age 14 or 15. I came to terms with my sexuality. And if that in any way gives a negative connotation to it, that is not my intention. But it's something that I had to realize. For those outside of the experience that I have had, growing up very religious, growing up Black, and growing up as a male in a family that is Black and religious, and also I am one of 3 brothers. There's a precedence, a tone. There's a expectation for you to be one of the boys.
But I never lost hope. I knew that someday I'd find another somebody to share my life with. All I had to do was just be patient.
What'd you do that for?
For you to be athletic, for you to be masculine, and for you to be what people would expect. Anything outside of the expectation is unexpected. So for me, growing up being extremely different, the full course of my life, it was definitely an experience. And I first had to come to terms with finding out what the different was. And then once I came to terms with what the different was, it was making that different work so that I could be myself, so that I wouldn't have to feel like there was something wrong, because it wasn't wrong. It was just different. So I think that I fully came to terms with who I was becoming at age like 15 or 16. Once I embraced who I was becoming, it became a journey to getting to be that person fully realized. I don't think I fully realized who I was as a person fully until I was about 25. And even with that knowledge of who I was, I still did things to suppress it, to not make it obvious, to try to be subtle about it so that people can digest it. And the moment that I really fully realized that like I can't do that anymore was probably at age 30, when I turned 30 fully. So at the ripe age of 31 years old, I never thought that I would be having the are you gay conversation.
Why are you gay?
With anyone. But I had to have that conversation. And it just so happened to be with my mother.
And I was a full-time mother.
She called me randomly. This was in February of 2020. The year of our Lord. The year of the coronavirus. The year of so many happenings and things in the world.
Any last words? Oh.
Jumanji.
She called me and she had a lot of other things to talk about and to say. It wasn't direct. She didn't get right to the point. But she did get to a point in the conversation where she said, You know, I've been hearing things about you in the streets. And I was kind of like, in the streets?
These streets.
Like, if you know my mother, you would know why that's such a preposterous statement. Because I'm like, why are you talking like this? But she claims that she had read something on Facebook.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
About me claiming to have a male lover.
The what? Shit. Shit.
Which, if anyone knows me, they know that I wouldn't post anything like that, whether it was a male lover or a female lover, because majority of my following are clients, potential clients, and people who generally just don't deserve that much of me online.
As in show, off with a smile, on with a look.
So, at least not where I would just be randomly mentioning someone who I don't even know, because I don't know the context of what she was reading or what she had come across.
It was all a lie. Guys, it was all a lie. She lied.
Either way, so she worded it so weirdly when she just kind of blurted it out. She said, "So what's your status?"
Let's see, come on, what's your flavor? Tell me what your flavor.
And that really sent my mind just like turning, because I'm like, is she talking about the status of my health? Is she talking about, you know, is she just trying to say, are you gay, without actually saying the words?
Are you gay by gay, day by day?
And so that was what eventually clicked. That's what I assumed. So I said, if you're asking me if I'm straight, the answer is no, I'm not straight. And I worded it like that because I noticed that she couldn't say the words, are you gay? She just couldn't get her mouth around it. So, no pun intended. From there, we went on to have a very, very uncomfortable conversation.
Your number one fan over there?
I mean, extremely uncomfortable. She apparently had a list, an itemized list of moments that from childhood to now, she had been questioning why I was different. And she proceeded to kind of have me atone for every one of those moments. She asked me about instances where things were said, people had done things to me, and you know, and I would come to her for comfort or this or that, and she questioned those things now that she had this one piece of knowledge that was different than what she had known of me all this time. She ended the conversation by saying, I wish it wasn't the truth.
What the hell did you just say?
Which, that part hurt. It hurt because there, in all the accolades, all the things that I have accomplished, all the bright and shiny bits, it diminished all of those things because I admitted something to her which she knew was true. And she said, I defended you. You know, when people would say things, I would defend you. And I was flabbergasted because I'm like, well, sorry, they were right. You know, and I had to think about, I had to really go back into my mind, because the first thing, of course, because my feelings were hurt that she said that, was to be angry. And I wanted to just hang up and end the call. But I had to think about a few things. One, my mother grew up in the 70s and the 80s. So her knowledge of what being gay was limited to what that was during that time. And during that time, there were no gay people on TV. There were rare exceptions of seeing people who were flamboyant but weren't necessarily gay. There were, rare exceptions on television, rare exceptions in music, one visual representation.
Visible.
And they gave people extremes, so they didn't understand the concept of a person being gay and not being an extreme. Also, there were no examples of gay couples being monogamous or gay couples forming healthy relationships, because during that time, one, we're just coming off of, and after Stonewall and that time period, being gay being illegal in the United States. And then from there, it went on to being gay being so taboo that any type of experience with homosexuality was in the dark. It was, people meeting up in spaces that were unsightly, cruising, things like that all kind of left a connotation to someone outside of the experience as negative. So, and my mother grew up in a time where HIV had just become something, as a person currently living through a pandemic, HIV was something that appeared out of nowhere and literally were wiping people out. And the only way that some people found out about other people's sexuality was because they were dying of HIV. They were, being diagnosed with HIV. So a lot of people, and then not to say again, HIV is not exclusively a thing that it affects homosexual people. But during that time when they were learning about the disease and learning about the type of people who had the disease initially in major studies, those were those people, gay people. So I had to think about all of those things, and that my mother, those are her reference points. She didn't grow up watching Ellen on TV or having shows like RuPaul's Drag Race or anything like that. She didn't have any points of reference to say, okay, this is something, this doesn't change that this is my son. This is just a part of my son that I'm now aware of.
So thank God that's over. I mean, it's over, right? There's not more, right? I mean,
all that to say, my coming out experience, as late in the game as it is, it was still an experience. And with the knowledge of trying to understand my mother's viewpoint, as well as, me accepting and loving who I am, who I've become, I'm not angry at her. I am disappointed by her response, but I'm not angry at her. And I'm not angry with myself anymore, because that was a huge part of the journey of learning who I am. Was when I realized that I was different, I beat myself up all the time. I wanted to know why I wasn't like my brothers. I wanted to know why I didn't like sports. I wanted to know why I just couldn't fall in line. But once I realized all those things and flipped them into traits and was able to look at them and say, these are the things that people are going to love me for. But first, I had to realize that fact is that these are things that people loved me for. These are things that people liked about me. And when I came to terms with that, that's when people started to like me, because I liked myself.
What difference does that make?
All of the difference in the world.
And so, again, that's my coming out experience. I know for some people it's a lot rougher, and for some people it's a lot easier. But I just hope through my explanation and through my story that maybe someone will be able to take a step in the right direction on their journey, get a little closer to understanding themselves, understanding their situation, understanding who they're becoming. I hope that you learned something from this. I hope there's a takeaway for maybe a parent or a child who are on either side of this coin. And I just want you to know that I love myself and I love you. And I hope that this journey for you is everything you need it to be to teach you to love who you are. Peace.